I found out my wife has a second profile online, and there, she pretends to be a single woman with no kids. It had the same first name, the same photo, but a different last name. On that profile, she claimed to be single, childless, and living in another city. All the pictures looked carefully edited. No wedding ring, no sign of our daughter, nothing that connected her to our real life. The scariest part was realizing that the account had hundreds of followers, all men. And she replied to every one of them with a kind of ease and confidence I hadn't seen in her for a long time at home. I found out about my wife's second profile by accident. It wasn't even because I was suspicious. I was just bored one night, scrolling through a local Facebook group. Someone had commented something funny, and the profile picture caught my eye. It looked exactly like Emily. Same smile, same brown hair, even the same small scar on her chin. But the name said Emily Sanders. My wife's name is Emily Carter. I thought maybe it was an old account she forgot about. She's not the most tech-savvy person, and she's made new accounts before when she forgot passwords. But when I clicked on the profile, my stomach twisted. Everything about it looked too fresh, too deliberate. The profile said she was single, no kids, lived in Austin, we live in Dallas, and we have a 6-year-old daughter. Her photos looked like the ones she used to post years ago before we got married, except these were edited, carefully, cropped just right so her wedding ring never appeared. Our daughter never showed up in the background. The house looked the same, but every trace of family life was wiped clean. At first, I thought maybe it was some kind of scammer who had stolen her photos. That would have made sense. But then I noticed the comments. Dozens of men leaving heart emojis and flirty messages, and she was replying. Not fake replies either. Real ones. The way she wrote felt like her. Jokes I recognized. Words she actually uses. And that's when I saw it. Her favorite mug, the one with the chipped handle, sitting on the kitchen counter in one of the photos. That was ours. That picture wasn't stolen. It was taken in our kitchen. My chest felt tight. I scrolled faster, looking for something that made sense. But everything I found only made it worse. The page had been active for months. Hundreds of followers. Every picture, every caption made her look like someone completely different. Free, confident, unattached. The same woman who, in real life, barely looked up from her phone at dinner anymore. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there next to her, pretending to breathe evenly while she turned on her side and faced away from me. I kept thinking about all those messages. All those men who thought she was single. All the time she smiled at her screen and said she was texting a friend from college. I wanted to shake her awake and demand an explanation, but I couldn't even find words for the storm inside me. The next morning I tried to act normal. I made breakfast. She came into the kitchen wearing my old sweatshirt, hair messy, rubbing her eyes. "You're up early," she said, yawning. I forced a smile. "Yeah, couldn't sleep." She poured coffee, humming quietly, like everything was fine, and I just watched her. The same woman from those pictures, but also not. I went to work that day, but I couldn't focus. Every time my phone buzzed, I wondered if it was her other self online. By lunch, I couldn't take it anymore. I checked the profile again. She'd posted a new story, a mirror selfie in the same bathroom we share. Caption: Sunday vibes, no ring. That detail hit harder than I expected. It wasn't just a lie. It was intentional, like she had to erase me to feel like herself. That night, I decided to confront her. I rehearsed what I'd say over and over. I planned to stay calm, logical, just ask for the truth. But when she came home from work, she was smiling. "Guess what? They're promoting me next month," she said, setting her bag down. Finally. Her excitement disarmed me. I just stood there, holding my phone behind my back, the fake profile still open. She noticed my silence. "What's wrong?" My throat tightened. "Emily, do you have another Facebook account?" She blinked. "What?" "No." "Why?" I showed her the screen. Her face went pale. For a second, she didn't move. Then she laughed, a dry, nervous laugh. "Oh my God, are you serious? That's just something I made years ago. I forgot about it." "Years ago?" I said quietly. "You posted there today." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The color drained from her cheeks. She opened her mouth again like she wanted to explain, then closed it. Finally, she whispered, "It's not what you think." But that was exactly the problem. I didn't even know what I thought anymore. She said it again. "It's not what you think." But her voice cracked a little this time. I could see her hands trembling. I just stared at her, waiting for something that made sense to come out of her mouth. "Then what is it, Emily? Because from where I'm standing, It looks like you've been living a whole other life online." She sank into a chair, covering her face with both hands. For a few seconds, she didn't say anything. Then she sighed and looked up at me. "It started as a joke, I swear. Just something stupid I did when I was bored one night. I didn't move." "A joke? You've been pretending to be single for months." She winced. "I didn't mean for it to go that far. I just wanted to feel—" She stopped, pressing her lips together. "Feel what?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. "Seen," she said finally. "Not as a mom, or your wife, or someone's employee. Just me." Her answer hit differently than I expected. I wanted to stay angry, but something about the way she said it, small, tired, defeated, made my chest tighten. Still, I couldn't let it go. "So you created a fake life? With men commenting on your pictures, flirting with you?" She shook her head quickly. "I never met any of them, okay? I didn't cheat, I just liked the attention. It felt harmless at first, then it got addictive. Every time I posted something, people noticed. They said nice things. No one was asking me about bills or dishes or daycare pickup. Her words made sense, but the pain didn't fade. And what about me? Did you ever think about what it would do if I found out?" She looked down. "No, I guess I didn't think I'd get caught. That part hurt the most." I walked away from her, pacing the kitchen, trying to calm down. Every detail of those fake posts kept flashing through my mind. Her edited photos, the missing ring, the fake city. She'd erased our life one detail at a time. After a while, I sat down across from her. "So what now? You just delete it and pretend it never happened?" "I already deleted it," she said quietly, "as soon as you showed me. It's gone, but that didn't fix anything. The trust was gone too. For the next few days, things between us were strange. She tried to act normal, making dinner, talking about work, but I couldn't unsee what I saw. Every time she picked up her phone, I wondered who she was talking to. Every time she laughed, I thought about those comments online. At night, she reached for me, but I turned away. I wasn't even trying to be cruel. I just couldn't touch her without feeling like I didn't know her anymore. One night, I was putting our daughter to bed when she asked, "Why does mommy cry in the bathroom?" I froze. I didn't know what to say. I kissed her forehead and told her everything was fine, but it wasn't. Emily had been crying quietly for days, thinking I didn't notice. That night, she came into our room and sat on the edge of the bed. "Can we talk?" she whispered. I nodded, even though part of me didn't want to hear more. She told me she'd started that profile last year when she was struggling at work and feeling invisible at home. It wasn't about other men, she said. It was about not disappearing. Her honesty made it harder to stay angry, but it didn't make me feel safe again either. I asked her, "Did you ever think about just talking to me instead?" "I tried," she said, her voice breaking, "but you were always tired or distracted, and I stopped trying because it felt like I didn't matter." That part hit deep, because somewhere inside, I knew she wasn't entirely wrong. I'd gotten caught up in work, bills, routines. Maybe we'd both stopped seeing each other a long time ago, but still. She'd chosen lies instead of honesty. After she went to sleep, I sat alone in the living room, staring at the dark screen of my phone. I didn't even know what I wanted anymore. To forgive her, to leave, or just to understand how we ended up here. The next morning, she left early for work, or at least that's what she said. But when I checked her location on my phone, something didn't add up. She wasn't at her office. She was across town, near a small cafe in a neighborhood she never goes to, and she stayed there for hours. I stared at the location pin on my phone, feeling my throat go dry. I waited a few minutes thinking maybe it was just a glitch. Maybe she was grabbing breakfast before work. But as the minutes turned into an hour, my stomach started to twist. She never mentioned any cafe in that area, and it wasn't close to her office. I sat in my car for a while, trying to convince myself not to go. I didn't want to be that husband who follows his wife around. But after everything that happened, trust wasn't something I could fake. I drove there anyway. It took about 20 minutes. The cafe was small and quiet, tucked between a bookstore and a florist. I parked across the street and watched through the window. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. She was there, sitting by the window with a cup of coffee, alone at first. Then, after a few minutes, a man walked in. He smiled when he saw her, and she smiled back. That smile hit me like a punch. It wasn't forced or polite. It was soft, familiar, the kind of smile I hadn't seen in months, the one she used to give me. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but it looked comfortable, too comfortable. She leaned in a little when he spoke. He touched her hand once, Not for long, but long enough for my chest to tighten. I didn't go inside. I couldn't. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, watching the woman I married act like a stranger. After about 40 minutes, they stood up. He paid the bill, and they walked out together. She laughed at something he said before getting into her car. Then they drove off in opposite directions. I stayed there another 10 minutes, trying to process what I'd just seen. When I finally got home, I didn't know what to do. Every version of the truth felt worse than the last. I told myself maybe it was just a friend, maybe someone from work, but deep down, I knew I didn't believe that. That night, when she came home, I could tell she'd tried to cover her tracks. She walked straight to the shower, her hair damp when she came out. "How was your day?" she asked casually. "Busy," I said, pretending to scroll on my phone. "Yours?" "Same," she said. "Meetings all day." That lie was small, almost invisible, but I felt it like a knife. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, pretending I hadn't spent the morning watching her through a cafe window. The silence between us that night was different, heavier. Every small movement felt loaded. Every glance turned into a question I couldn't ask out loud. By the next morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I opened her laptop while she was getting ready. She'd left it on the kitchen counter. I didn't want to dig, but my hands moved on their own. I went through her emails. Nothing suspicious. But then I checked her browser history. The fake profile was gone, just like she said, but there were new logins, a new account, different username. The same man from the cafe had commented on her photos there too. My vision blurred for a moment. I took a breath, trying to keep myself from throwing the laptop across the room. When she walked into the kitchen, I closed it quickly and forced a neutral tone. "Do you know a guy named Ryan Mitchell?" Her face froze. It was only a second, but that second told me everything I needed to know. She recovered quickly. "Why?" she asked, her voice tight. "I saw you with him yesterday," I said. "At that cafe near Elm Street." Her shoulders tensed. "You followed me?" "I checked your location," I said. "After everything that's happened, can you blame me?" She didn't answer. I waited. The silence stretched between us until she finally said, "Ryan's just a friend. Someone I met at a conference a few months ago. He's been helping me with some stuff at work." "Helping you?" I repeated. "You met him at a cafe 2 hours away from your office." She rubbed her forehead. "I didn't want to tell you because I knew how it would look." "That's because it looks bad, Emily," I said quietly. "It looks like you're hiding something again." She didn't deny it. She just whispered, "I'm sorry." For a second, I thought I saw tears forming in her eyes, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. Later that night, after she went to bed, I looked up Ryan Mitchell. His profile was public, and right there in his photos, I saw one that made my stomach drop. It was from 2 weeks ago. Him and Emily at a work event. She was smiling at him the same way she used to smile at me. The caption said, "Always great working with this one. She keeps me motivated." She'd liked the post. I must have stared at that picture for 10 straight minutes, just trying to breathe normally. It wasn't just the way she was smiling, it was how comfortable she looked. Her hand rested on his arm like it belonged there. Her eyes were warm. I hadn't seen that version of her in a long time. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, that photo came back. The fake profile, the cafe, the lies, it all connected now. Ryan wasn't just a coworker. He was the reason she'd started living as someone else. The next morning, I dropped our daughter off at school and sat in the parking lot for a while, debating what to do. Part of me wanted to print that photo and put it on the kitchen table when she got home. But another part of me, the one still clinging to the hope that I was wrong, told me to wait. That afternoon, I called her office. The receptionist said Emily wasn't in that day. "She took a personal day," she said. A personal day. I checked her location again. She was downtown, near a hotel, that was it. Something in me snapped. I didn't care how pathetic it made me look. I needed to know. I drove there, heart racing the whole way. The hotel wasn't fancy, just one of those business ones with a coffee bar in the lobby. I parked and waited. After 20 minutes, I saw her walk out, and she wasn't alone. Ryan was right next to her. He was carrying a folder. She was laughing at something he said. They looked like a couple who'd known each other for years. I took a photo. I don't even know why. Maybe I needed proof that I wasn't losing my mind. Then she spotted me. Her face went white. "Jason," she said, her voice barely audible. Ryan froze, looking confused. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just asked, "What are you doing here?" She stammered something about work, about a project meeting, but the words didn't match the panic in her eyes. Ryan tried to step in. "Hey man, I think there's a misunderstanding." I cut him off. "Stay out of it. People were starting to look." She whispered, "Please, can we talk somewhere else?" I nodded, but I could barely look at her. We drove home in silence. The whole way, she kept her hands in her lap, like she didn't know what to do with them. When we got home, our daughter was still at daycare. The house was quiet. I sat at the kitchen table and said, "Tell me everything." She stood there for a while before sitting down across from me. Her voice shook when she spoke. "It's not an affair," she said. "At least not physically. I swear. But I've been lying. I know that." I didn't say anything. She continued, "Ryan's someone I met through work last year. We started talking about career stuff, but then it turned into personal things. He listened. He cared. And I guess I leaned on him more than I should have. So what was the fake profile for?" I asked. She took a long breath. "It started before him, but when we got closer, it became a way for me to escape. I didn't post those pictures for random men. I posted them for him. He didn't even know it was me at first. I used a different last name. He found out later, and I deleted everything." Her honesty hit like a punch. I didn't even know what to say. "So he's the reason for all of it?" She shook her head. "No, I am. I let myself drift. I made choices I can't defend. But I never slept with him, Jason. I swear, I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the image of her laughing with him outside that hotel wouldn't leave my head. I asked, 'Did you love him?' She didn't answer right away. That pause was enough. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. "I don't know." That hurt more than anything else she'd said. I stood up, walked into the living room, and just stared out the window for a while. I could hear her crying behind me, but I couldn't move. After a few minutes, she said, "Please don't hate me. I know I messed up. I'll do anything to fix this." I turned around. "Then you need to cut him off. Completely. No messages, no meetings, nothing." She nodded. I already did, but I could tell she hadn't. Not yet. There was something unfinished in her eyes. That night, I checked her phone while she slept. It felt wrong, but I had to know. Her last message to Ryan was from earlier that evening. It said, "He knows. I can't talk anymore. Please don't reach out." And then his reply appeared right under it. "I understand. But you don't owe him your whole life, Em." I just sat there staring at that message thread, feeling my chest tighten. "You don't owe him your whole life, Em." That line played over and over in my head until it stopped sounding like words and started feeling like a warning. He wasn't letting her go. I wanted to wake her up right then, shove the phone in her face, and demand to know if she planned to leave me. But something stopped me. Maybe I didn't want to hear the answer. Maybe I was too tired to start another war at 2 a.m. I put the phone back where I found it and lay next to her, staring at the ceiling until morning. When she woke up, she acted like nothing had happened. She made pancakes for our daughter, hummed while she cooked, kissed me on the cheek before leaving for work. The same routine as always, except now every gesture felt rehearsed. All day, I waited for a message from her. Something. Anything. But nothing came. By the time I got home that night, she was already there, sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. I could feel the tension in the air before she even looked up. "Did you talk to him?" I asked. She hesitated. "I sent him that last message, like I said. I haven't spoken to him since." "Did he reply?" Her eyes flickered. "No, that lie came out so naturally it scared me. I didn't say anything." I just nodded and walked into the kitchen. She followed me a few seconds later. "Jason, I'm trying, okay?" she said quietly. "I deleted the profile. I blocked his number. I'm doing everything you asked. I know I messed up, but I want to fix this." I looked at her for a long moment. "I want to believe you," I said. "But every time I start to, something new comes up." Her eyes filled with tears. "Then tell me what to do." "I don't know," I admitted. "I really don't." We stood there in silence until our daughter ran in, breaking the tension. Emily wiped her face quickly and smiled like everything was fine. Watching her switch from guilt to calm that fast made my stomach twist. Later that night, while she was helping our daughter with homework, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, froze for half a second, then flipped it over face down. That was all I needed to see. I waited until our daughter went to bed, then asked again, "Who was that?" She sighed. "It was work." "Can we not do this again tonight?" "Emily," I said, "if it's work, show me." She looked at me with this tired, empty expression, like she'd run out of excuses. You don't trust me anymore. I wanted to say, you gave me reasons not to, but I didn't. I just turned and walked away. An hour later, I heard the front door open. I got up and looked out the window. Her car was gone. I called her, no answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. Half an hour later, I checked her location. It showed the same spot as before, the same cafe where she'd met Ryan. I didn't even think. I grabbed my keys and drove there. When I got close, I parked down the street and walked. My hands were shaking so badly I had to shove them in my pockets. Through the window, I saw her sitting at their usual table. Ryan was across from her. She looked upset, not angry, not happy, just broken. He reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. That was enough. I walked inside. The bell over the door rang, and both of them looked up at the same time. Ryan stood up. Jason, listen, don't, I said. Don't talk to me. Emily looked terrified. Jason, please, this isn't what it looks like. I laughed bitterly. That line again? I think I've heard it enough times. The cafe was silent. Everyone was watching, but I didn't care anymore. I turned to her. You said you blocked him. You said you were done. Tears filled her eyes. I came here to end it. I swear. Ryan spoke quietly. She told me it's over. She just wanted to say it in person. I looked at him, at the man who'd managed to undo 10 years of my marriage in a few months, and I felt something inside me just go numb. Then say it, I told her, right now. Say it's over. She looked at Ryan, then back at me. For a second, I thought she wouldn't. Then she whispered, It's over. Ryan nodded slowly, his face unreadable. Take care of yourself, Em. He stood up and left without another word. I didn't say anything else either. I just walked out and waited in the car until she followed. We didn't speak the entire drive home. When we got there, she finally said, You don't have to forgive me. I just need you to know I meant it. It's done. I stared straight ahead, gripping the steering wheel. I want to believe that, I said quietly, but I don't know if I can. She started crying again, whispering, I'm sorry, over and over until her voice broke. And for the first time since this started, I didn't feel angry, just empty. The next few days felt like living with a ghost. Emily moved through the house quietly, careful with every word, every step. Our daughter noticed the difference, even if she didn't understand it. She'd ask simple questions like, Why doesn't Mommy sing in the car anymore? And I never had a good answer. At work, I pretended to be fine. I smiled when I had to, laughed at the right times, but every time I came home, the weight hit me again. The house didn't feel like home anymore. It was just walls full of silence. Emily tried. I'll give her that. She cooked dinner, packed my lunches, even left notes in my bag like she used to when we were dating. Hope your day's better today. But the notes just made it worse. It wasn't the gesture. It was the memory of who we used to be. One night after our daughter went to bed, she came into the living room holding 2 cups of tea. She sat down next to me, careful to leave some space. Can we talk? I nodded, even though I already knew where it was going. I've been thinking a lot, she said, about why I did what I did. I know I hurt you, and I know sorry isn't enough, but I'm still going to say it. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. I could tell she'd rehearsed it. I don't expect you to forget it, she continued, but I want to fix what's left. I want us to start over even if it's small. I looked at her. Start over how? Therapy, she said. Together, or even separately at first. I already found someone. I can book the first appointment if you want. Part of me wanted to say no. I didn't think some stranger could rebuild what she'd destroyed, but another part of me, the one that still saw the woman I fell in love with, didn't want to give up completely. So I said, okay, we can try. The relief in her eyes was immediate. She reached for my hand, and for a second I let her hold it. It felt strange, familiar but foreign, like touching a memory. For the next few weeks, things got calmer. Not better, but quieter. We started therapy. She deleted every social account she had, even her main one. She showed me her phone whenever I asked. It almost felt like progress. Until one evening, something small shattered it again. I was doing laundry when I noticed one of her blouses still smelled like cologne, not mine. I didn't say anything right away. I just tossed it aside and waited until she got home. When she walked in, I asked, Were you out with someone after work? She looked caught off guard. What? No. I just stayed late. I held up the blouse. Then explain this. Her face changed instantly. Guilt, fear, frustration all mixed together. Jason, it's nothing. I hugged a coworker goodbye after a meeting. That's all? A coworker? I asked. Which one? She hesitated. You don't know him. I almost laughed. You hear yourself? That's exactly what you said about Ryan. She sighed. It wasn't him, okay? I haven't seen or spoken to him since that day at the cafe. Then who was it? She rubbed her temples. You're turning everything into proof of something that isn't there, and you're giving me reasons to doubt you every single day, I said, my voice rising. You lied for months, Emily. You built a fake life. You met a man behind my back. Now you smell like cologne. And I'm supposed to believe it's just from a hug? Her eyes filled with tears. I don't know what else I can do to make you trust me again. Maybe nothing, I said quietly. She froze. What do you mean? I mean, maybe we've reached the point where there's nothing left to fix. The words came out colder than I expected, but once they were out, I couldn't take them back. She just stood there, staring at me like she was trying to find the version of me who used to fight for us. That night, she slept in the guest room. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. She'd left a note on the counter. It said, I'm staying with my sister for a few days. I'll give you space. Please tell our daughter I love her. I folded the note and set it aside. I didn't even feel angry anymore. Just tired. 3 days passed with no calls, no texts. The house felt even emptier without her. Then, on the 4th night, I got a message from an unknown number. It was from Ryan. The message said, I'm sorry for what happened between you two. But you should know, Emily came to see me yesterday. She said she needed closure. When I saw Ryan's message, my hands went numb. I read it over and over, hoping I was misunderstanding something. Emily came to see me yesterday. She said she needed closure. Closure. That word made my stomach twist. After everything, the lies, the therapy, the promises, she'd gone back to him. I didn't answer right away. I didn't trust myself to type anything that wouldn't make things worse. I just sat there, staring at the screen, waiting for some part of me to calm down. After about an hour, I finally texted back. Why are you telling me this? He replied almost instantly. Because you deserve to know. She didn't stay long. She looked upset. I told her to go home. That's all. I didn't know whether to believe him. But it didn't even matter. The damage was done. She'd gone to him. Again. When Emily got back later that night, I was sitting in the living room waiting. She froze when she saw me. You're still up? Yeah, I said. You talked to Ryan today? The color drained from her face. She didn't answer. Don't lie to me, I said, keeping my voice low. I already know. Her shoulders slumped. It wasn't what you think. I swear, Jason. Then what was it? I just needed to end it properly, she said. Not through a text or a message. I needed to tell him face to face that it's really over. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so painfully predictable. You already did that, at the cafe, in front of me. She looked down. I thought I did, but I still felt like there were things left unsaid. And now? I asked. Did you say everything you needed to? She nodded weakly. Yes, I told him I'm choosing my family. You. I just needed to close that chapter. I stared at her for a long time. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But belief doesn't rebuild trust. Not when every word comes from someone who's broken it before. Why didn't you tell me? I asked quietly. Because you would have stopped me, she said, and I didn't want to make things worse. I shook my head. You don't get it. You made things worse the moment you hit it. She sat down across from me, tears welling up. Please, Jason. I'm not asking for forgiveness right now. I just need you to believe that it's done. I can't take back what I did, but I want to fix what's left. I couldn't look at her anymore. I stood up and walked into the kitchen, staring out the window just to keep from saying something cruel. After a long pause, I said, maybe it's not about fixing things anymore. Maybe it's about ending them before we destroy each other. She started crying harder. Don't say that. Please don't. But I didn't take it back. That night, I slept on the couch. The next morning, she was gone again. Only this time she'd taken more than a few clothes. Her closet was half empty. No note this time. No message. When our daughter woke up and asked, "Where's Mommy?" I told her she went to see Aunt Claire. She smiled and went back to her cartoons. She had no idea that her world was splitting apart right in front of her. The next few days were quiet. I didn't hear from Emily at all. No calls, no texts, nothing. I started to wonder if she was actually gone for good this time. Then, one evening, there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, she was standing there. Eyes red, hair messy, holding a small suitcase. "Can we talk?" she asked. I stepped aside without saying anything. She came in, set her bag down, and looked around like she wasn't sure she was allowed to be there. "I stayed at Claire's," she said. I needed time to think. I nodded. "And?" "I'm going to stay there for a while," she said quietly. "Not because I want to leave you, but because I think we need space. Real space." I didn't argue. I just asked, "Is this about him?" "No," she said firmly. "It's about me. I've spent so long being someone else, your wife, a mom, a co-worker, whatever version people needed me to be, that I forgot who I was, and I made awful choices because of that." Her honesty cut deep, because it didn't sound like an excuse. It sounded like truth. I said, "So what happens now?" She looked down at her hands. "I don't know. Maybe we take time apart. Maybe we find our way back later. I still love you, Jason. But I can't ask you to love me right now. Not after everything." I didn't realize I was crying until I felt the tears hit my shirt. I wanted to reach for her, to hold her one last time, but I didn't. Instead, I said, "Then go, figure out who you are. Just don't forget who you hurt getting there." She nodded slowly, whispered, "I'm sorry," and walked out. When the door closed, the silence that followed felt final. The house felt different after she left. Not just empty, but hollow in a way that echoed. Every sound stood out. The refrigerator hum, the floor creaking when I walked past our room, the quiet of the mornings when she used to hum while making coffee. For the first week, I tried to keep busy. I focused on work, took our daughter to school, cooked simple dinners. I told her Mommy was visiting Aunt Claire to help her with something important. She accepted it without much question. Kids believe what they need to believe. At night, though, everything slowed down. I'd catch myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. Vacations, birthdays, random selfies she used to take with me before everything went wrong. There was one picture that hurt more than the rest. Her sitting on the kitchen counter, barefoot, wearing my hoodie, laughing about something I can't even remember. I kept staring at it, trying to remember what that version of us felt like. A couple of times I almost texted her. I wanted to ask how she was, if she was sleeping, if she missed home, but I didn't. Every time I reached for the phone, I thought about Ryan's message and stopped. A few days later, Emily finally called. Her voice was soft, careful. "Hey, how's everything?" "Fine," I said. "You?" "I'm okay," she said. "Just trying to figure things out." There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing, like she wanted to say more. "I've been seeing a therapist," she said finally. "Not the one we went to together. Someone new. It's helping." "That's good," I said. "I want to keep working on myself," she continued. "I'm not asking to come back. I just want you to know I'm not giving up." Her words were steady, but I could hear the pain underneath. I wanted to say something kind, something that didn't sound bitter, but all that came out was, "I don't know what to say anymore, Emily." "Then don't say anything," she whispered. "Just listen." So I did. She talked about her sessions, about how she was learning to take responsibility instead of running away. She said she missed our daughter's laugh, the smell of pancakes in the morning, the feeling of being home. When she said home, her voice cracked. After we hung up, I sat there for a while staring at the wall. For the first time, I didn't feel angry, just sad. Not because she'd left, but because I finally understood why she did. A few days later, she asked if she could see our daughter on Saturday. I said yes. When she came to pick her up, it was strange. She looked like herself again. Not the version I'd been fighting with, not the woman from the fake profile, but the one I fell in love with years ago, calm, softer. Our daughter ran into her arms, laughing. Emily hugged her so tightly it almost looked like she was trying to hold her life together with that single embrace. "Hey," she said to me quietly. "Hey," I replied. We stood there for a second, awkward and polite, before she asked, "Can we talk for a minute?" We went outside and she said, "I'm not asking for answers right now. I just need to know if there's still a chance, someday. Not today, just someday." I didn't answer right away. The old me would have said yes, but the person I'd become, the one who'd lived through months of lies and silence, needed time too. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I'm not ready to think about someday." She nodded, swallowing hard. "That's fair," Before she left, she looked at me and said, "I never stopped loving you. Even when I didn't know who I was." I didn't say it back. Not because it wasn't true, but because love didn't feel like enough anymore. That night, the house was quiet again. I poured myself a drink and sat by the window, watching the lights from the street flicker across the walls. I thought about everything. The lies, the pain, the truth we'd both ignored for too long. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel desperate or broken, just still. Like maybe this was what healing looked like. Not forgiveness, not forgetting, just learning to live with what's left. A week later, I got a message from her. It wasn't long. Just, "I'm proud of you, Jason. Even if we don't find our way back, thank you for letting me try to be better." I stared at it for a long time before replying, "I'm proud of you too. Take care of yourself." No anger, no bitterness, just the truth. Maybe that was the closest thing to closure we'd ever get.